Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories, and I'm gonna share some with y'all today. If you happen to like the video, hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe. Most importantly, hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you'll be notified ASAP and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Also, shout out to Flango for reminding me about this story. If you guys happen to have any topics or stories or stuff that you'd like to hear, leave a comment in the comment section and hopefully I'll be able to get to it. One of the things I get asked about a lot, I think is a big misconception, is that the prisoners locked up don't have to have jobs. So a lot of people ask me, is that why they're able to come home, some of them so big and so muscular? But no, that's far from the truth. In the California prisons, you either have to have a job, you have to be going to school, taking a trade, or you can also be medically unassigned. If not, you're going to be on what's known as A2B. And A2B is a restrictive status, and you can only make, among other things, you can only make one 15-minute phone call a month. I think when I first came to prison, we could spend $140 at the canteen. If you was A2B, you was only allowed to spend somewhere like around 60. You wasn't able to go to the yard on the weekends and certain things like that. When I first got to prison, you still had a lot of prisoners getting day for day, meaning that for every day they went to work, they had a day removed from their sentence. In my case, by me being a lifer, that didn't apply to me. So you did have some lifers who, if they happened to be assigned to a certain job that they didn't like, they would just refuse to go. And there wasn't anything that the administration could do other than write them up, give them a couple of more points on their point system. But outside of that, for a lifer who wasn't going home anyway, what difference did all that matter? Now when it comes to getting a job, initially how you get a job is you get to prison. Most of the time you would just get a ducat saying, okay, you've been assigned to work in the kitchen, you've been assigned to the yard crew, you've been assigned as a clerk over here, and then if you didn't like that job, after going a while or whatever, you could go, if you knew another job that had an open, and you could put in a work change slip or something like that, and eventually get moved to the job that you might want to go in or whatever. But most jobs in California prisons too, they don't pay that well. Maybe about 8 cents to about maybe 30 cents, 40 cents, depending on where you were at. Some prisons, not all, have what's known as the PIA, which is the prison industry, and they do things in there like they make boots and clothes for all the prisons. They may make T-shirts. I think one PIA that I was around, they used to make the tags that goes on the license plates. So just different little things and stuff. But now, if you was able to get a PIA job, I think they started somewhere around 40 or 50 cents, and you might could max out at like $1 and some change. Remember I told you guys about the story my Celly told on me right in my face. Simon, he worked in the kitchen in Ironwood, and I think he made about 9 or 10 cents, and each month he would get about $12, And so to me, it made no sense, working all day long for a little bit of nothing when you can go to the yard hustle, sell a couple cigarettes or something else or whatever, and make way more money. So me, I always tried to avoid working in prison when I could, or I tried to get a job where I had to do a little bit of work, like maybe being a porter in the day room, and then I could, hurry up, clean up, and go outside or whatever like that. But I did have a job that I happened to like. This job was at CMC East, and so how I ended up getting this job is we had got into a riot with the Compton and Watts car. When we went to the hole, once we got out of the hole, my homie SP, before we had went to the hole, he was working in the kitchen, in the prison hospital, also known as the diet kitchen. So he ended up getting his job back, and maybe about a month or two later, he came and asked me if I also wanted to work up there. He said somebody had just quit or got fired or whatever, and they needed somebody to work up there with him. And so some of the perks of this job was especially the food, while the food at CMC East in the general population, it was good as far as prisons go. It was nothing like the food that was being served in the prison hospital or the diet kitchen. You had people up there who maybe for whatever medical reasons couldn't eat certain foods. One guy that I knew by the name of Noor, I believe that was his Muslim name. He was from Sacramento. He had got his jaw broke, and so he had to be on a special diet, and so he was up there. But the stuff they had up there was nothing like we'd get on the main line. They had carne asada, fish, even though I don't eat fish, spaghetti, hamburgers with real cheese, pancakes, all just type of stuff. Grape juice, pineapple juice, orange juice. We don't get these type of things in prison. Real oranges. They removed a lot of that stuff like grape juice, maybe oranges, stuff like that, because they had so many people making wine. And one of the things that they hate is making wine, because you have some of the prisoners in there get drunk and maybe want to fight each other. And they especially don't like it when they try to fight the guards and stuff like that. So, until a person has gone maybe about 10, 15 years without small things like orange juice, pineapple juice, grape juice, you'll really never be able to appreciate that type of stuff. And so just being able to have, some food that was tasted just like street food was extremely satisfying. Also, there was a lady up there, I believe she was Samoan, I forget her name, and from time to time she would make homemade pizza and stuff like that. And so that was just one of the small perks that that we got by being able to work up there in the diet kitchen / prison hospital. Another thing I come to find out is why my homie really wanted me to work up there is because they were taking their cell phones up there. Plus, there was also a lot of contraband coming in through the prison hospital. You had a lot of female staff up there, nurses and stuff, and you had a couple of inmates up who had developed intimate relationships with some of these female staffs, and that's how a lot of this stuff was getting in also. And so also around that time too, I had just got my first cell phone. I had it was just a regular old flip, I forget the name. I think it was a Samsung Flip or whatever. But anyway, a lot of us was taking our cell phones to work. It was me, my buddy SP, a white dude by the name of Brandon. We were all real cool and stuff. And so when we would go to work, we would get an extremely light pat down from the guard. We was able to smuggle our cell phones up there. We were porters up there, and so basically a porter is just like a janitor. I would sweep the floor, mop, empty the trash cans and stuff like that. Now they had 2 dormitories back there, 2 dorm rooms that housed some of the prisoners who was up there for whatever reason. Each dormitory had about, I'm trying to think, about maybe about 10 to 15 little cots like you would see in the army barracks and stuff. And so they was down a long hallway. And so we also worked in the laundry room, and we would provide these dudes with t-shirts, blankets, boxers, socks, towels, pajamas, things of that nature. So we'd keep a lot of this stuff. We worked in this big old giant room at the end of this hallway, and we had a table in there, and we'd keep a lot of that stuff piled up real high, maybe about 7 or 8 feet. So when they opened the door, they'd see all those clothes, and we would be back behind the clothes just sitting down on our cell phones and stuff. And the guards and COs and stuff, they rarely even came back there. And so that was one of the things that I enjoyed. Like I said, I had just got a cell phone, and so that was man, it was hard for me to stay off that thing. I'm always checking it, texting people, looking to see if I got texts and stuff like that. It was an extremely exciting moment for me, back then, having that new cell phone and stuff like that. And so one of the down parts about working in the prison hospital is sometimes I would see people who I had done a lot of time with happen to come up in there, and some of them would be sick and doing bad, and I seen several of them pass away. And initially I was starting to think damn, it, are they up here killing these people? Because say for instance, maybe I would leave on Friday, and then I didn't work on the weekend, so then I'd come back. So when I would leave Friday, maybe a person would be down in those dorms. And then when I would come back Monday, they'd have him down the hall. They had some cells down there in a couple of little rooms where people were, if they were basically on their last leg, some of them would be down there hooked to morphine and stuff like that. And so I would leave Friday, and me and the dude, we would be talking, and he would be perfectly fine. Then when I would come back, he would be down the hall in one of those rooms with morphine, and they'd have the do not disturb sign on his door, and 2 or 3 days later he'd pass away. So initially I was thinking like, damn, are they up here killing these dudes? Something like that. But then later on, after talking to some of these people and stuff, what I come to find out is a lot of prisoners, probably in like people on the street, they go to the doctor not often, especially up in there. We pretty much had free health care. How good it was or it wasn't is up to, is up to the person who was receiving. It wasn't great, but still you can go, and a lot of these people would just fail to go. So by the time they would go and would be older and find out they have cancer or liver disease, it would be too far gone, and they just couldn't save them. I never forget this one guy, and I can't remember his name, this black dude. And he was noticeably getting thinner and thinner. He had been up there a couple of months. And so I asked him, hey man, what's the problem with you? And he told me he had liver disease. He said, oh man, I don't care what they gonna say. This thing, I'm not fit to let this kill me. This ain't gonna beat me. This ain't gonna beat me. And he was always smiling, but you can notice he was losing weight, and it looked like he was getting worse off with each day. Maybe about a week or two after he said that, I came back to work one day. They had him down in one of those rooms with the morphine on and stuff. And sadly, about 2 or 3 days later, he passed away. They had another dude up there too that I remember, man. A Southsider. He's a young dude, probably in his mid-20s. His name was Rabbit, and he happened to be from Florencia, 13. So before, and he was paralyzed. I can't remember if he was paralyzed from the neck down. I think it was from the neck down, but he was in pretty bad shape, And so actually I had met him through my buddy who got me the job, SP, and so we'd go in there, chop it up with him, talk, it may be some things he may have wanted from the yard, that we'd bring to him, maybe some cigarettes or whatever. I can't remember 100%, but he was definitely a cool dude, man. The little people think it's a lot of racial stuff going on 24/7 with the Hispanics and the blacks, and no, it's not. We're not allies, but we're definitely not enemies either. Sometimes it just all depends on what institution that you're at, kind of dictates the relationship at that moment. You know what I'm saying? But in the event we do get into a riot to them, after that is out the way, whether it takes a year to blow over or 5 years, once it's blow over, we're back on the yard. It's no immediate everyday problem. And so, this dude Rabbit, man, we treated him like anybody else. He was a cool dude, wasn't no problems or something. Wasn't no problems. What he explained though is how he had got paralyzed is before he came to prison, he was kicking it with his homies one day, doing what gangbangers do. And I think they had just gotten to a shootout or something like that. And he hopped out of the car and took off running when the police got behind him. And the police shot him several times and they paralyzed him. And so I think, and he didn't have life. So I believe he should be home by now, I told another story about a dude who I believe he was from 9-7 Gangster. He was a Crip. He came in there from a level 4 one day. So I'm in there one day, sweeping and doing my little normal thing. I walk down in the other rooms, not the dormitory, and they have him in this room. And so I go up in there and ask him if he wanted some water or whatever, plus he's a new black dude up in there. I'm checking on him to see if he needs something or whatever. Man, the dude is burnt all up. He don't got a shirt on. He got these cold burns all over him and stuff, all over his chest, face, arms, and stuff like that. So we started talking and stuff. He told me where he was from. I told him he had a homie on the yard by the name of T-Mac. And so we go to talking, and I asked him, damn, homie, I said, damn, what the hell happened to you? So he told me that he had came down from a level 4. He had got into it with his Celly. I believe his Celly was from West Coast 80s, which is a hood out in Long Beach, if I'm not mistaken, where his Celly happened to be from. So him and his Celly kind of going through it up in the cell or whatever, having words. So his Celly plugged up a hot pot, which is basically like a little pot that we could pour water in to boil our soups, to make coffee, stuff like that. So his Celly plugged that up. put some Kool-Aid or something in it, some oil, baby oil or something. Once it started boiling, he said his Celly just unplugged it and threw it all over it. And man, this dude was just jacked up, man. He was burnt up all over his body and stuff. And I felt extremely sorry for the dude, man. And so I remember too, I came back there maybe about 2 or 3 weeks after we met, and it may have not been that long. So he said, "Hey, yeah, man, see you later, homie. Tell my homie, I holler at him later and blah blah blah, or give his kite to him or something." So I asked him, "Damn, what they sending you to another hospital or something?" He said, "No, man, they sending me back to the pen, back to the 4 yard." So I'm thinking like, damn, this dude is all burnt up. He can't really move because it's when you got that burnt skin and stuff. So I'm thinking like, damn, they gonna send this dude back here, back to the 4 yard like this. So that was a cold situation right there, man. They also had one of the downsides about working up there in that hospital too is there would be people sometimes who would come up there that they would basically be on their last leg, and they'd have them down there in this room where they would be passing away, and some of them would sign the DNR, do not resuscitate form or whatever. And so that meant they didn't want to have any efforts put towards keeping them alive, giving them medication, water, food, or whatever. There was a dude up there also on the yard by the name of Reese, and they say he was the son of the big California drug dealer Tootie Reese. And so this wasn't Reese's job. This was something that he had just volunteered for. Reese was a lifer, actually, and he was one of the first lifers I see to get out of prison. And he used to always tell me, "Hey, chill, man, come to these self-help classes." And I'd always tell him, "Yeah, man, I'm coming. I'll come next time or whatever." But once I saw that he went home, it was something that inspired me to try to get my act together or whatever. But anyway, Reese would be in there sitting with some of these guys who were passing away. And I remember there was an old black guy he was in there sitting with, man. And the guy lived for like 4 days with no water, no food or anything like that. And so, yeah, that was real. That was real compassionate of Reese. Now there was a dude that we worked with too. It was me, SP. It was a white dude by the name of Brandon. Brandon used to always be in there arguing with his girlfriend. Brandon would bring his cell phone to work too. And we had those, like I told you, those little flip phones. On the back of the flip phone, they had a little like light or bar thing. And every time you would get a call or a text or something, it would light up. So SP would always tell us to cover that part up on the phone with either some tape or something, a piece of paper, tape it over there so it wouldn't buzz and flash. So for whatever reason, Brandon never took heed to that. So one day, Brandon is in there on the phone with his girlfriend arguing as usual when the free staff came back there. Now, the free staff is a person who works in the prison, but he's not working under the capacity of a guard or something like that. He's basically the teacher of whatever particular class you're in, or he's the boss, but he's not a guard. And so the free staff came back there and asked him whatever question he asked him. When he opened the door, like where Brandon was back there in that laundry room, Brandon grabbed his phone and stuffed it down his pants real quick, pulled his white t-shirt over it. So now while he's talking to the free staff, his girlfriend is steady calling or texting or whatever, and that white light is steady lightening up. So unbeknownst to Brandon, the free staff is seeing all this. So after they have the conversation, the free staff goes down there and grabs one of the guards. So when they come back down there and open up the door again, Brandon hears them. He throws the phone up under some towels or whatever. So, they tell him to stand up. The free staff is saying, "Hey, man, I just saw you on the phone." Brandon is saying, "No, you didn't see me on the phone," and blah, blah, blah. And so they searched him. So now they put him up against the wall. A few more guards come down there. So now Brandon knows that we all have our cell phones hid up in there. So Brandon said, he told him, "Okay, man, listen, yeah, it was a phone. It's right here." Because Brandon knows if he don't give him the phone and they tear the room up, they're likely to find our phones too. And he didn't want us to lose our phones because of his dumb mistake or whatever. So they escort Brandon, take Brandon to the hole. Periodically, they would need somebody to work and stay late. I went in at 2:30 and I would get off around 9:30, 10 at night. So now when it's time for me to get off, I'm stuck with the dilemma of, damn, Should I try to take my phone up out of here? I know that if I leave it, the goon squad is definitely coming and they fist to, search this thing and probably gonna find my phone. But I'm also nervous about now if I take the phone with me, I'm sure the guard is gonna search me more extensively than he normally does. Because we have the same guard searching us every night when we leave, for the most part, unless it was one of his days off. So I said, man, forget it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and just take my phone and take the chances of getting caught. So I take my phone with me. They search me and I get away with the phone and stuff. And so, but yeah, like I thought, the next day the goon squad come up in here. They lock that back room till they can search it real good. And after that, it was a wrap as far as bringing the phones to work and all that stuff. We really had a good thing going, and that got messed up. How I end up losing that job is maybe about after I had it about 6 months. Some Crips in my building, some young dudes got caught with some weed, smoking some weed downstairs. So they decided to shut the whole yard down and just do a search, And so by this time I'd had my cell phone for about 5-6 months. I got complacent. I had a real good hiding spot. They had ran up in my cell 3 or 4 times looking for the phone, and they couldn't find it. So the yard had been locked down 2 or 3 days, so everybody know they searching and stuff. So my Celly, he told me, hey man, they're on our floor searching, because the building had 3 floors. I had been on my cell phone all night. So I got up and didn't put it away properly like I should have. They came in there and found it. Long story short, I got caught with the phone. They sent me to the hole. Then I ended up getting moved to North Kern because of that. But anyway, that's just that was just a little story right there about one of my favorite jobs. For the time that I was working up there, I really enjoyed being in the prison hospital and stuff. The food was delicious. And also another thing I forgot to mention is they had a big old giant bathroom with a regular bathtub. And so we would go up in there in back in those dormitories. They had showers for the people and stuff that was back there. So normally we'd work up there, and then before we would get ready to go back to the cell, we would take a shower, because by the time we got back, we wouldn't get back to like 9:30, 10. So the program in the building would be shut down. So for whatever reason, one day I went back there and I took a bath. And at that time, I'd probably been locked up probably about 16, 17 years. And so, like I say, once again, just being able to sit back, chill in the bathtub as opposed to taking a shower was that was something that felt real good too. And it just those small little things that we don't realize will become important to us once we get incarcerated. Like having your favorite thing to eat, your favorite thing to drink, just being able to go outside and see the stars and stuff like that. Because on a level 4 there is no night yard. So on a level 4, I believe when I was there in '96, we would go out to the yard in the morning from about 8 o'clock to 11. Then they would let us out again like from around 1 to like 3:30, and that was it for the day. So now when you drop down to some of these lower levels, level 3, level 2, they have night yard, and so you can be outside to maybe about 9 o'clock, 9:30, depending on what institution that you're in. But all these little small things we take for granted, while we're free. But once we get locked up and we lose our freedom, then some of those things will become more important to us than we ever could realize. But anyway, yeah, that was one of my favorite jobs, working up there in that prison and stuff. Needless to say, you had a lot of dudes up there who developed relationships with some of those staff up there, the nurses and stuff like that. I never was fortunate enough to get in a position to do such, but you had some dudes who did, man. The lady who I was telling you about, the Samoan lady who used to make the homemade pizzas and stuff from time to time, she eventually got busted bringing in cell phones and stuff like that. And so she lost her job as well. But anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.